Secret Invasion. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Icon with a Marvel review for you. And this is episode 2 of Secret Invasion. And this one is entitled Promises, ... which were made to be broken. So, in the last episode, it ended with the death of one Maria Hill, which I'm still not buying. And even after I've watched this episode, I'm still not buying it. More on that later. So now the episode actually starts with a little backstory. They give us the Captain Marvel backstory. And the whole time I'm watching the backstory and I'm watching the recap of everything that happened, I couldn't help but thinking, why didn't they show us this in the first episode? Because it would have put more content to what was actually going on. But anyway, so they show us, like the Captain Marvel highlights. And then they bring us to 1997 when a young Nick Fury, he has all the Skrull refugees like in a warehouse somewhere. And he's talking to them and asking them to join the cause. And he specifically said this. He said to them, if you help me protect my world, myself and Carol Danvers will help you find a new world for yourself. He said, you keep your promise and I'll keep mine. And clearly, Fury broke his promise because, again, this was 1997 and this is now 2023, and neither he nor Captain Marvel have found these people a place to live. So that's the explanation of why we're doing what we're doing. And then even Gravik, he's the villain of the season, Gravik, the light-skinned black dude, they showed us him in his Skrull form when he was a young boy. And they said that, his parents were killed, by the Kree or whatever, and then he stole a ship and piloted his way all the way to Earth, and then, he ended up meeting Nick Fury, and then Nick Fury sat down and he was like, don't worry, son, I got you, and, I'll help you with everything that's going on. Clearly that was a lie, because Gravik is, he's legitimately upset because Fury broke his promise. So now Fury's on the run. He's on a train with, what was it, Gridlock? Gridlock. He's on a train with, he's going to call him Gridlock until I remember this man's name. So he's on a train with Gridlock, and then the two of them are just going through the fields and going from point A to point B. I don't know where they was going. But then Fury had asked him, he was like, tell me something about the Skrull invasion that I don't know. And then he couldn't tell him. He was like, well, everything you know. He's like, everything all I know. He's like, I've told you. And then he was like, okay, tell me about the people who fled the invasion. Tell me something I don't know about that. And then that's when he had spilled the beans that basically there are over 1 million Skrulls that are currently on Earth. And that's when Fury almost choked, on his coffee. And he was like, over 1 million. He's like, over 1 million Skrulls. And then he was just like, yeah, he said that my people were being slaughtered. And then after the Thanos situation, you ran up into outer space and you never came down. So I figured you abandoned me. So I had to do what I had to do to protect my people. So I brought my people in here so they can be safe and, and they won't be under the pressures of, being slaughtered by the Kree. And is no one going to mention the fact that Asgard is, because Fury even said to him, he was like, oh, two species can't exist on one planet. You can't have the Skrulls and the humans on one planet. Are we not going to mention the fact that Asgard is on Earth? That's a thing. The Inhumans are a thing. The Avengers are a thing. So there are so many different things that are factoring into occupying Earth. Why are we all up in arms over the Kree? So anyway, then Fury gets mad, kicks dude off the train, and then that's when Fury goes down to try to have a conversation with young Colonel Rhodes. Rhodey's back. He's talking to the council, to the World Council, and they're just like, oh, Nick Fury and Maria Hill, they were at, this bombing, and what do you know about it? And he was like, not a damn thing. He's like, allegedly, you said Nick Fury was there, but I don't know shit. You ain't gonna get shit, and unless you provide some concrete evidence, kiss my ass, and stop giving me the side eye. And I feel like at some point, because he said that, the footage of Nick Fury shooting Maria Hill, I feel like that's going to come out because Gravik turned himself into Nick Fury when he shot Maria Hill. And I don't think that was done specifically just so Maria Hill would let her guard down. I feel like that was done on purpose because they're going to try to frame Nick Fury and he's going to become public enemy number one. And my theory on that was also supported by the fact that they took Maria Hill's body, because I'm still not buying this shit. They took Maria Hill's body back to America and we never saw her face, we never saw the body. It was just an empty casket that was being transported back to the U.S. Her mother was there, and when her mother was there, Nick Fury was there, and then she was like, oh, tell me what happened to my daughter, and then he was just like, she died in the line of duty, and then, she's like, oh, she's protecting you, and she would have done anything for you, and, get the bastards who did this, and don't let my daughter's death be in vain. And I'm just like, she's not dead. Because the thing is, the thing about it is, even when he was talking to Kratos on the train, they were having this whole thing. Maria Hill got brought up. when the mom was at the funeral, Maria Hill's name got brought up. There are other points during this episode where Maria Hill's name got brought up. Every time Maria Hill's name gets mentioned, in the fact that matter of fact, Rhodes brought it up when he talked to Rhodes. Every single time they have this conversation and Maria Hill's name gets brought up, Nick Fury does not waver. He does not shake. He does not show no emotion, and he's not just doing that because he's Nick Fury's super spy. That is a man who knows that Maria Hill's not. I will be legitimately shocked if her death is actually a real thing, because I'm not buying it. And if her death is a real thing, and if Maria Hill really is gone, that's some bullshit. And y'all played her character, and y'all could have gave her a better send off than that. But again, I don't think she's dead, because Nick Fury, like, if Maria Hill meant as much to Nick Fury as everyone's telling him she did, there'd be a moment where he would show some emotion. Go to a bar, like shed a tear, have a drink in her honor, go down to the lake and think about the memories. He's just like, whatever, like she's around the corner, which she probably is. So anyway, so then he goes and talks to James Colonels Rhodes, and then he's just like, oh, I need your help. He gave him the soul brother conversation. He's like, I need your help, brother, help a brother out. And then that's when Rhodes was like, fuck you and fuck a brother, because from one brother to another, he was just like, you're putting all of us in jeopardy, and there's nothing I can do for you, like the position that I'm in right now. And he's like, yo, how you think you got the position, brother? And then he's just like, he's like, I'm using the power to keep the peace and everything. And he told Nick Fury, he was like, yo, bro, you're fired. And I'm not buying this either, because they went out of the way to have the soul brother conversation, and then he hit him with the help a brother out. I feel like that secret code between him and Rhodes, to the point where Rhodes fired him on purpose, because he knows that if he kept Fury around as a legal member of the United States, like operatives or whatever, then the U.S. would be responsible for anything that Nick Fury does. Rhodes fired him on purpose because he knows Fury's going to go do what he has to do, and he doesn't want the U.S. government being reliable for whatever Nick Fury does. The two of them are in cahoots on this. Like, Rhodes actually does have it back, because I'm not the anger and animosity that the two of them had. I'm not buying none of that shit. So Rhodes, like I said, so I feel like Rhodes purposely allowed him to escape so he can then go out there and do what he has to do. Now on to the bad guys. Gravik was basically talking to his people, and he was saying, that, oh, change is upon us. He goes down to the Skrull Council, which is basically like a council of different Skrulls that have infiltrated different parts of society, or like blended in, if you want to use like a nicer term. And Gravik basically raged a coup to the point where he gained full control over the Skrull army, where he used the prime minister or the Skrull acting prime minister. He got her on his side, and then he even said during the thing, because they were just like, oh, what makes you think you can take over this council and you can take over our army and you can send our people into war? And he was like, yo, straight up, he's like, dead ass, like, Nick Fury lied to us. He said, we were all in the room that day when Nick Fury asked us to join his cause and protect his planet, and he said, you protect my world, I'll protect yours. It is 2023, we do not have a place to live, son of a bitch is a liar. So now it's war, and we're gonna kick ass, and we're taking names. And then there was this one person, one Hindi lady who was in the room, and she was just like, oh, you've forgotten why, we were all refugees to begin with. It's not because we were afraid of war. She's like, we were too bloodthirsty for war, and it cost us dearly. And then they actually allowed her to leave. They was like, well, she was like, I don't support your rule. And then he was just like, yo, get the hell out of here. So then she leaves, and then she calls Kratos, and then she's just like, yo, Havoc just took over the council, and it's about to be war. And then that's when Kratos was just like, all right, he was like, rage and meet. He's like, call a meeting between me and Gravik immediately. And then she was like, will do. And then they're gonna do the whole thing. So then now the British lady in the first episode, the one who she reminds me of Peggy Carter. The British lady, she went to go take over an investigation, because after the whole bomb threat in the first episode, when Nick Fury got snatched up, there was another guy who got snatched up, and the whole time he was just like, oh, I'm an American. So the London government like took this dude, because they actually caught him. They took this dude down, to wherever they interrogate people, and then the British lady, she came into the interrogation, and she was like, stop beating your meat, and then she told everybody to get out the room, and she ended up interrogating the person herself. And she cut his finger off just to see if he was a Skrull. The hand turned green, so she knew he was a Skrull. So she injected him with something that made his blood boil, and then she was like, oh, I want answers. And she was like, oh, what's Gravik planning, and what's he planning it with? And then we saw a scene where Gaia was actually following Gravik in the Skrull like compound. They went to some secret base like below ground, where there were these two scientists down there, And then when as Gaia was spying on Gravik and the two scientists, we learned that what Gravik is basically doing to win the war, because even when he had the council meeting, somebody was like, hey, what if the Avengers show up? And then he was like, you don't think I thought of that? What he's doing is, and I have to give my boy Sean, the true comic fan, credit for this, because he did say this a long time ago. What Gravik is, I keep calling him Havoc. What Gravik is doing, he's using DNA from different aliens like Groot, like like the Frost Giants, like other metahumans, blah blah blah. He's trying to create Super Skrulls. He's trying to give Skrulls superpowers so this way they can be unstoppable when they wage war on the planet. There was even a moment where, Nick Fury even said to Rhodes, he was just like, like the Skrulls are taking over, and then that was the signal for them, like, come on, brother. He was like, you'll get on board. So we're like, Rhodey's aware of this. And now Gaia knows that they're trying to create Super Skrulls, and then even then, the guy who was being interrogated by the British lady, he even said that he was like, he's like, Gravik has these two scientists down below, and then she was like, what is he doing with them? And he was like, I can't tell you. And then he was just like, oh, he's trying to make them Super Skrulls, and he's trying to give us power. So now she knows that. So then that's when Gravik shows up. Gravik and his people, they show up to go rescue their captive friend. The British lady disappears under a secret hatch. They take the guy out. He's like, what did you tell her? And he was like, I told them nothing but lies, and that was a lie. So they brought homeboy out to the forest, and they shot him. They killed one of their own because he basically squealed and spilled the beans. So now he gone, and then Gaia, I'm a little confused about whether or not Gaia is a double agent or she just having like remorse or having second thoughts about it, because even in the beginning of the episode we did see when her mom joined the cause, and then she was still mad at that because she was like, oh, you got my mommy killed and everything. So and I think we basically saw the origin of everybody in that whole room. And then finally in the last scene, Nick Fury, after he walked away from Rhodes, because even then, like when Rhodey tried to get Nick Fury to leave the country, and then he was just like, oh, you're done, Fury. He was like, you're fired, you're out. He was like, I'm Nick Fury, damn it, even when I'm out, I'm still in. Just ask your mama. And then we see Fury get in an old black car and drive out to the country. And there's a nice house out in the country in London, of all places. And there was a Skrull woman in the house making dinner. And Fury goes into the house. And then when he goes into the house, the woman, she went from being a Skrull to being a black woman. And then, she said to Fury, she was like, aren't you forgetting something? And then Fury went, he picked up his wedding ring, he put his wedding ring on, and then him and the woman started kissing, and that's how the episode ended, and thank you for tuning in. So apparently, Nick Fury is married to a Skrull. And if he's married to a Skrull, he has to have a Skrull child out there somewhere, like Jack Fury or whatever the case would be. Like, that was weird. And I don't know if he's just a double agent where he is married to this one particular Skrull, or he married to somebody else, or he got one woman in London, he got one woman in France, he got hoes in different areas. I don't know what the situation is, but the show is interesting. A lot of people are online saying that the show is boring. And the show isn't boring. But I understand why people are saying it's boring, because it's like 90% conversation and like 10% action. However, I'm invested into the conversation. Like, the conversation, it has me drawn into the point where I want to know where the story goes. Like, like, newsflash, people, they're actually telling a good story. But I will say this, from an action standpoint, it is kind of dragging a little bit from an action standpoint, but thank God we know these characters. We're into Nick Fury. We're aware of the Skrull invasion. Like, the story is good enough to the point where we can hold off on the action until, I guess, maybe like the last 2 or 3 episodes. So share your questions, comments, and or concerns down below. What do you think about episode 2 of the Skrull invasion? Promises? Like, what is your thoughts on? Do you think Maria Hill is dead? Like, what's the deal with Nick Fury having a Skrull wife? Do you think Rhodes is in on it as well? Do any Avengers pop up? What's gonna happen? Because I said Maria Hill gonna pop up in the season finale. That's all I got to say. So share your questions down below. We'll continue to talk about it. Hit me up on Twitter and on Instagram. Always on YouTube, where we can leave your questions, comments, and or concerns. I got Street Fighter going hard on my YouTube channel right now, so check out my Street Fighter, the Superman and Lois season finale. That Superman and Lois is good, y'all. I just gotta say that. But The season finale is up on my channel, or will be up on my channel. I record all these videos back to back to back, and then I decide which one I put up first. So like Superman and Lois is coming, so check out some of my review for that. The first episode of Warrior just dropped, so we're gonna review Warrior along with myself with H. Dot from Far Rock. We're gonna review that Warrior, and then from an animated standpoint, Max just put up the animated movie Batman Doom. I'm gonna watch that, and I'm gonna review that too. So that's 4 things coming up on my channel, as well as some Street Fighter action. So check that out. So until next time, guys, for episode 3 of Marvel Secret Invasion, take care, watch the squirrels because they're coming, and we're out this bitch.